This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks tumble.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Well, here we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. That's USAPrepares.com. We're broadcasting live from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. Studio A. Information is on the website. Converging threats are confronted daily by your instructors. I'm Vincent Finelli. We've got a meetup Monday night, Ziggy's, and I'll be on stage. I'll be passing out the signs, those of you who have volunteered to place signs throughout your community about the Get Prepared Expo, which is July 19, 20, and 21 in Lebanon, Missouri at the Cowan Civic Center. If you decide that you wanted to pass out those signs, I will have them on Monday at the meetup. We'll be able to get those signs out. And for those of you who are interested, we have discount tickets at Choose Your Own Wireless in Springfield, Missouri. Roy Birdsong's Choose Your Own Wireless on 2900 South Campbell. If you decide you want to go there, he will sell you the discount tickets, and he will give you one of our black ceramic coffee mugs, USAPrepares.com on one side, and the other side will say either GCN or Big Country 99, one of our affiliates from GCN. And I want to thank GCN and Big Country 99 for broadcasting USAPrepares.com. Today we're going to talk about firearms. Are you interested in buying your first handgun or your first rifle? What do you have to think about? What goes into that decision? Well, Jeff Ohms is with us. He is our senior USAPrepares.com firearms instructor, and he's going to teach us some things that we need to know about. For example, should you consider the caliber and the cost of that caliber right now if you're going to buy a firearm right now? What about the expected cost for that cartridge in the future? And what about training? Can you convert a handgun that you'd like to carry with you to shoot less expensive ammunition? For example, let's say you want to buy a 9mm. Can you convert that to 22s for plinking and target shooting and practice, so you shoot a much less expensive round? And when you're carrying it for personal protection, carry with the more significant cartridge like the 9mm or the 40 caliber or the 45 or whatever it might happen to be. We're going to talk about that today. So Jeff Ohms is our senior USAPrepares.com fire instructor. He's been with us at Ziggy's. He's done CCW training with us, for us, and he's been at the Get Prepared Expo. He's been on the radio with me a bunch of times. Welcome, Jeff Ohms.
Morning, Vince. How you doing?
I am really well. It's great to have you in the broadcast with us on the classroom, and I'm really interested in talking about firearms for the new purchaser. And also, Jeff, when we're on the air, we talk about the availability of cartridges, and why don't we start with that? Let's talk about what is happening with ammunition prices. And let me say this, class. We will have over 1 million rounds of ammunition at the Get Prepared Expo. Over 1 million rounds. One exhibitor alone is bringing almost $250,000 worth of ammunition. Just one exhibitor alone. So, and I think that's about 10,000 pounds of ammunition. One exhibitor. So we're going to have it at the Get Prepared Expo. Jeff, what's happening with ammunition today?
It's getting, the bottom line is this, availability is getting better, not all across the board as far as within certain calibers, certain selections of ammo type, but overall, what we're seeing is it's freeing up. However, that being said, the pricing is still a little higher than what we've been used to, And I think what people should expect at this point is they're going to find the ammo they need. They're going to find the ammo they probably want, but they're also going to have to pay a little bit more than they were used to, let's say. And for the newer shooter who's just coming on board, they don't have a bellwether to go by. The good old days are just that, the good old days, and they're past us. But today's ammunition prices are still reasonable, and they're cost-effective for most people's application. Most shooters don't go out and shoot 500 to 600 to 700 rounds at a session. Most don't. A lot do. You do, I do, my wife. But most people don't. So the cost-effectiveness is still in play. We are seeing across the board, too, with this pricing structure. Now let me backtrack 1 second. When the Sandy Hook stupidity ensued, of course, everything shot up, just skyrocketed. But what people fail to understand is because of market availability, prices went up, and there were some disingenuous and dishonest and unscrupulous business practices that went on. We know who those guys were. We don't do business with them. The other thing is most people don't realize that after January, sometime in the middle of January, typically around the SHOT Show time, all manufacturers of every type of firearm, component, accessory, and other things involved in the lifestyle, there's always a 4 to 7% increase across the board. Typically, that's normal. So what we're seeing is the pricing of ammo is starting to fall back down to where it should be for that January increase, and that's pretty much where it's going to settle. You're still seeing some higher costs in some areas of some specific types of ammo, only simply due to availability of raw materials. That will fall down yet again. It's going to plateau down, but realize that the 4 to 7% increase is a normal increase, and we're starting to see that we're getting to that point now. And the days of, for example, 22 long rifles at $20 for a 500-round brick are probably not going to resurface anytime soon, but they will get closer to that. But people are just going to have to be a little patient. So the ammo is available, prices are falling, supply is good in most calibers. There are some exceptions to that, and we can get into that detail if you want. But overall, I still encourage people, when you find what you need, buy it now. The old saying of buy it cheap and stack it deep. Well, cheap is relative, but being able to get it and put it away for a rainy day and then not have to worry about something like we've just gone through is always peace of mind, and it's always part of the preparedness lifestyle. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And, Jeff Holmes, I'd like to share this with you. I was talking with one of our team, one of our faculty here at USA Prepares within the last 2 days. And we were talking about ammunition. And Jeff, as you are in the inner circle of firearms, and you have your contacts, we have our contacts here. All of us have contacts at USA Prepares. And one of our contacts, someone that you and I both know, was telling me that there is a hardware chain, and it will remain nameless, a hardware chain, a chain of stores, a large one, placed an order for ammunition this year with a major manufacturer. And the order was the size of the last, let's say, 8 years worth of orders. So one hardware chain placed 8 years worth of orders this year. That's how much ammunition is in demand. They believe they can sell the same amount that they sold in the previous 8 years just this year. And I was further told that there are ammunition manufacturers that are not taking any more orders for purchases this year. They don't need to, because they have all the orders that they can possibly fill already. And we haven't even, we're at half a year point, and they're not taking any more orders. So I think that you're absolutely right. If you can find it, you probably ought to buy it, since the price has come down from the peak. We are not at the peak. We're below the peak. But availability is the problem.
Yeah, that's like I said, across the board, it's okay, but there are some subcategories, if you will, that are just simply not going to be available, and those are more of the esoteric rounds that most average shooters aren't going to be looking for. I mean, just real quick example, I use a particular projectile from a particular company for the 300 blackout load, and it's for a suppressed load, for a subsonic load. Those bullets, I don't know when I will see them. I just don't know. No one does, and it just happens to be the very, very finest quality bullet for that particular caliber known to man. So, unfortunately, when they do make that ammunition, it's going to be made only for the commercial side. Those of us who like to craft our own are just going to be kind of left in the dust for a while, which is fine. Luckily, we've prepared accordingly. But those are the kind of things I said that are on the harder edge, harder buy list, if you will. Everything else is pretty much okay. Like I said, just get used to an increased price. I'm seeing 5.56 NATO and 223 of quality manufacture, and somewhere in that 49 to 56 cents a round area right now. It's going to drop again. I mean, it just will. Availability is pretty good on that right now. 308 Winchester or 7.62 NATO is still hovering in that 75 to 80 cents a round. That's a little on the high side for plinking, but it is available. So, and that's going to fall as well. You're seeing, some of the larger manufacturers are at peak capacity, and those are basically for fulfilling contract. Some of the contracts are being exercised, some of them are not, and it's just very hit or miss because they're open quarterly. So we'll see some more things. There are some items coming back on from the surplus side or the military contract side on in the market, specifically in 5.56. It will be available, but just get ready to pay a little bit more of a premium for it. Even the inexpensive steel-cased Russian manufactured ammunition is becoming more prevalent, and it works just fine. If your gun shoots it, shoot it and enjoy it. Don't worry about it. It's not going to hurt your gun. It's just filthy dirty. And get ready to get a fire hose out to clean your firearms correctly after a range session.
Jeff Holmes is with us, and I'm going to ask him about the price that I paid for ammunition, 5.56. When we come back, I bought some Winchester. I'll ask him if he thinks that the price was right or not. Jeff Holmes, USAPrepares.com senior firearms instructor. We'll be right back. Class, I just received a post from Tony Pichet, USAPrepares.com instructor. He and his wife own a company called Down to Earth Foods in Springfield, Missouri. Tony Pichet comes from South Africa, and he's talked about building community. And he and I will be presenting a seminar at the Get Prepared Expo this coming up next week, July 19, 20, and 21. He and I will be talking about building community, and he saw what happened. He saw what happened when the government was overrun and his wife's family farm of 8,200 acres was stolen at gunpoint, and he left South Africa and came to America. He and I will be talking about that during the Get Prepared Expo. Now, he's offered to build a ride-share program for those of you who want to commute from Springfield to Lebanon, Missouri for the Get Prepared Expo. I'm going to give you his phone number. If you'd like to call his store, you can call them, and you can arrange to get a ride back and forth with others to save fuel so that you can go the 50 miles from Springfield, Missouri to Lebanon, Missouri for the Get Prepared Expo. 417-501-1054. 417-501-1054. That's Tony Pichet. And if you don't have that number, you can go to the website, usaprepares.com. At the bottom of the page, there's a link to Tony Pichet, P-I-C-H-E, Tony Pichet, and it'll take you right to the store, and you'll have the contact information for the ride share. Tony will be teaching seminars on at the Get Prepared Expo. So we're talking about ammunition. Jeff Holmes was with us. Jeff, a man came up to me and said, "Hey, Vinny, I've got some ammunition I'd like to sell." And he said, "It's 5.56. It's Winchester. It's new, old stock. It's probably 15, 20 years old. I want $6 a box for it." And I said, I think you're going to regret this." And he said, no, I really want to sell it. If I don't sell it to you, I'm going to sell it to somebody else. I want $6 a box for 20 rounds. So that's 30 cents. And it's new. It's brass. But it's, 15 years old, let's say. I said, I really don't think you should do this. I think you should keep this. And he said, "No, I'm going to sell it. So do you want it or not?" And I said, "Okay, all right." Jeff, what do you think about that?
Does he have any more? And if so, I will be there in about 3.5 hours. I would have broken my fingers reaching into my pocket for my wallet. That's an incredible price. That's actually a price that we were crying about, 7-8 years ago, going, "Oh my gosh, it went from 18, 19 cents to 30 cents a round. Holy cow, what are we going to do?" At this stage of the game, it's buy all you can get your hands on. I agree that I would have encouraged him and advised him, I think you might want to hang on to this. You can't replace it for that, but if you're dead set on getting rid of it, I'm your huckleberry. Hand it over. So you did fine.
That's exactly what I did. I tried really hard. I said, "I really think you're going to regret this." And he bought it, and he was making a profit on it, and he was really comfortable in selling it. The same guy, I was telling him that I was buying silver. This was several years ago. And I said, "If you want, I'd get silver for you at about $11 an ounce if you want it." He said, "Okay, get me some." So I got him some silver, and I paid $11 for it per ounce, and I sold it to him for $11 an ounce. And he said, "Boy, if this ever goes up to $15, I'm going to sell it." Well, it hit $14, and I said, "Hey, look," he said, "I'm going to sell it when it hits 15. I said, I don't think you should do that." I said, no, I'm going to sell it. Well, it got to 15, and I said, "Are you going to sell it?" And he said, no. It got to 18, and he sold it. And I said, "I think," he sold it, and then he told me he sold it. And I said, "I think you're going to regret that." And it went all the way up to 49 and change, and then it came back down. But he could have ridden it all the way up to $40 easily. But I guess, I don't know. I don't understand it. I never sold any of mine.
I never sell it. We never look at it that way. It's a commodity for my own personal use.
There you go. All right, so let's talk about, when we come back, let's talk about what caliber should we buy for a new handgun and the convertibility to a, let's say, 22 long rifle for ease of shooting and reduction in cost. Jeff Holmes, USAPrepares.com senior instructor. We'll be right back. Class, I've got a favor to ask of you. I'm learning how to use Facebook. I do not plan on using Facebook for what I've had for breakfast or, watching or taking a picture of TJ, our English Mastiff, playing with a tennis ball in the backyard. I don't plan on doing any of that. I just plan on using it to communicate information that I think is important to you about the Get Prepared Expo. That's my plan. And I've been getting a lot of requests to be friends on Facebook, and I think it might be a great way for me to just communicate with you about the Get Prepared Expo. So if you're interested in becoming a friend, let me know. Just send me one of those friend requests, and I'll add you to our Facebook friends. There are a couple thousand right now, and it looks like we're getting about 100 a day. So if you're interested, and then we'll just send you information about the Get Prepared Expo, and I'll probably even send out discounts for things that we offer at the expo, and including tickets on Facebook. I'd like to see how well that works. So if you want to friend us on Facebook, the way to do it is Vincent Finelli. There are other Finellis out there. The one that is me is the full name, Vincent. No abbreviations, just Vincent Finelli. Not Vince, not Vinny. It's Vincent Finelli. That's me. Okay? And I'll be glad to respond and make you a friend and send you out the information. Jeff Holmes is with us. And Jeff, you know, whenever I buy a vehicle, one of the things that I'm very concerned with, one of the early discussion points is how many miles per gallon is this truck going to get or this car going to get? And I look at maintenance and the fuel consumption is the cost, as part of the cost of ownership, a very significant component. So not only is the cost of buying the vehicle, but the cost of feeding the vehicle. Now, when that relates to a firearm, what should we consider?
You know, there's several things to look at, and that's a great point. It all boils down to, you know, operational costs per mile, or in this case, per round. So what we have is, for the most part, the military style or military caliber handguns, 9mm, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson, or 45 ACP, are all fairly close in cost effectiveness. It depends on how much ammo you want to burn for practice. And speaking of that, you know, trigger time is important. Having the ability to use another firearm that is set up identically to your primary firearm in an effective caliber, in this case it's usually 22 long rifle, is even more valuable today than it ever has been, even though the cost of 22s and the availability is sometimes spotty and sometimes a higher price. 8 cents a round is still better than 50 or 60 cents a round, and that trigger time is irreplaceable because shooting is a perishable skill, and all of us are apt to get rusty or not practice as much as we should simply due to the cost of ammo. And the handguns today come in a variety of configurations. Some of the manufacturers, Glock, CZ, Smith & Wesson, all make compatible 22 long rifle, what we call trainer pistols. They're the same size. They are set up exactly the same as their full-size counterparts, but they're chambered for 22 long rifle. You, in essence, will have two complete firearms. There are some what we call top ends, or the conversion, which is a top slide and the magazine that will convert your 9mm, 40 or 45 into a 22 caliber trainer. And those, to me, are just irreplaceable, especially for new shooters, recoil-sensitive shooters, shooters of smaller physique. That trigger time builds muscle memory. Muscle memory is key to keeping a sharp shooting and eye and hand coordination. Like I said, you can't replace that. You can't watch a video. You can't just sit and dry fire all day. You actually have to burn some powder. The question in everyone's mind is, should I get a conversion or should I get the firearm? You're going to spend probably close to the same. So you got to kind of look at 2 is 1, 1 is none. If you buy, for example, if you have a 1911 style 45 automatic and you buy a companion piece in 22, you now have 2 guns. That 22 trainer will also serve as a small game getter or a plinker or just a range toy, or something to teach younger or newer shooters how to enjoy that firearm system. A lot of us have both of those. A lot of us have conversions, and either one is a good answer. For the AR-15 system, I typically recommend the conversion system as opposed to the full 22 dedicated AR, because a lot of the manufacturers make one that looks like, but it is not exactly like your full-size AR counterpart. I feel it's more important to have your actual AR-15 that is exactly how you know it is. All the controls are exactly the same. There's no surprises, and by changing out a few easy components that equate to basically a field strip and clean, you now have a 22 caliber training rifle that's your original rifle with no changes other than internal that you've done. And you can shoot 22 to get that trigger time and build muscle memory and skill, and that's where it boils down to. You know, when we teach people and train people, we always emphasize that in a worst-case scenario, you will always default to your highest level of comfortability and training. And once you do that, realize that's the best you're going to be. So having that opportunity to train effectively, cost-efficient, is much more important than having all the neat toys and not knowing how to use them, if that makes sense.
Well, it absolutely does. And I'd like to share with you a real short story. One of our instructors asked his wife to come over to the farm, and she is a surgeon, and she wanted to have a firearm that she could carry with her when she's around town in Springfield, Missouri. And she works at the hospital, and she's on call, and she has to make these, emergency runs from her home to the hospital at night. And she wanted, 2 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the morning, those kinds of things, to be with her patients. So she wanted to protect herself. So she was at the farm, and she and her husband and I and Mrs. Finelli were out there with a 9mm. We were with a 357 that could shoot 38 specials, as well as the 357, a revolver, Smith & Wesson, 1911 chambered in 45 ACP, with a conversion slide to shoot the 45 in 22 long rifle. And so she tried every single one, and she really liked, I couldn't believe it, she liked the 1911 in 45 the best. That's what she decided she was going to carry. And she really loved the fact that she could plink with 22s, and she shot, both the 22s and the 45s out of it. And after maybe 100 rounds, she could pull the 45 out of her holster, and without using the sights, shoot right from her hip and hit can after can after can at 21 feet. Make the cans dance. I'm talking about like a tomato soup can. So that was the training that she used to quickly deploy and shoot from the hip, if you will. And it worked great for her, and she just loved that conversion. So at the time that I bought that conversion, Jeff Holmes, I think it was about $175, but that was many, many years ago. What are they now?
Various manufacturers have them. There's a couple of really good ones out there. They typically are in that $375 to $450 range, depending on make. And depending on how your 1911 is set up, if it's a lightweight, what's known as a lightweight or an alloy frame, they're not going to work in that because the barrels are ramped, not the frame. So if you have a full-size steel 1911, most of those conversions will work just fine. Kimber makes a nice one. Springfield makes one, actually. They don't talk about it too often. It's out of the custom shop, and that one's a little pricey. But you can find them usually on Gunbroker or a couple other places. And because everybody has different needs and different pistols, I typically don't keep those around in stock just because I'll order them for a customer, but I don't keep them around because I need to know a little bit more about what their firearm is. There's a conversion for Glock, CZ. Matter of fact, I know in your office now you've got something propped up against the wall, and I am sitting here with a CZ75 on my desk, on my computer table. But one of the best ones out there, if you just need a 22 to get trigger time, I would recommend the Ruger Mark II first and foremost. It's a classic. It's bomb-proof. And after that, I am a big fan, and you know this because you've watched it in action, the Smith & Wesson M&P in 22. We put that one down at the Springfield CCW class we put on. We ran that one through the ringer, and there were no hiccups. And it's a full-size pistol that replicates the full-size service firearm that Smith & Wesson makes, which we are also, we're Smith & Wesson law enforcement dealer and a huge fan of that system. But I'm glad to hear that she embraced the 45, a woman after my own heart. My wife is a 45 fan, although hers happens to be a Springfield Armory XD-M in full size, big gun, handful, it's a hand cannon. She shoots it very, very well. It all boils down to proper training and whether or not the shooter is engaged. And shooting, we try and tell people also, and I get this a lot, people are more concerned about their small groups at the range, and a lot of shooters have to go to indoor ranges, so they're limited. And I try and tell folks that learning how to deploy a handgun in a serious social encounter is completely different than standing on a square range shooting bullseyes. And the combat-grade accuracy is not what you think it is. It's more of an acquisition of target than it is about where you're putting it on the target per se. And that's hard to explain in words, but it's easier to show and teach people what that really means in the real world. So that's kind of my take on that.
Well, that's why when we were plinking out here at the farm with our instructor's wife, the surgeon, we taught her to quickly deploy and plink without pushing the gun in front of her, because we thought that in a situation that she might encounter, she would not be able to do that. So she would just go right from the hip to shoot right from the hip. And she was able to make that can dance, shot after shot after shot very quickly with the 45. And we are exactly on the same page. Jeff Holmes, Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the first firearm and selection, and we're going to talk more about home defense. Home defense, what's the first choice? We'll be right back. Jeff Holmes is with us. Jeff Holmes is our senior USAPrepares.com firearms instructor. Jeff, how would you like us to get in touch with you? We have a link on the website, USAPrepares.com, page 1 under instructors. How would you like us to get in touch with you?
Easiest thing to do is email me at MOA1911@live.com. That's the simplest way. MOA1911@live.com. MOA is, of course, Minute of Angle. It's also the name of our company, which is MOA LLC. That's the easiest way, and I can respond to emails quicker than I can with phone calls typically. Like you, I live out in the middle of nowhere, so we still use carrier pigeons some days. Which is fine by me. We have the ability to do things out in the country like you that suburban dwellers can't always take liberties with. So there's a trade-off, but it's a minor one.
So class, that's MOA1911 at live.com. MOA1911. The number's 1911 at live.com. Link on the website, page 1, USAPrepares.com. Jeff, you mentioned before that I've got standing on the wall right next to me, some iron, and I do. It's an AR-15 Colt SP1. It's a shorty. It's a short barrel, and it's got a collapsible stock, and it's plain Jane. No fancy anything. It's just from the factory. 30-round magazine, and literally I can be at the microphone without moving away from the microphone, reach and grab this thing and deploy it if I have to. And that's kind of the way I live. And on my side is a 45 ACP. So that's just, Jeff, I need to say why I do this. Because when I lived in Virginia, we opposed something that the government was doing, and our county government, and they didn't like it, and shots were fired at our house from the road. And from that moment on, about 20 years ago, maybe over 20 years ago now, I have been armed all the time because I've been shot at. In civilian life, I've been shot at. So when I'm on the tractor, I'm armed. When I'm on a four-wheeler, I'm armed. When I'm on a motorcycle, I'm armed. When I'm in the studio, I'm armed. When I'm sleeping, I'm armed. It's just the way it is.
Sounds
and
like
a lot of our instructors...
and I appreciate you mentioning on the tractor. I have the same thing on my tractor. Actually, I carry a SIG 228, and it's right there on the seat. I have a type of holstering retention mechanism that I put on there, and nobody knows it's there except me. But like you, when you're out in the field and all of a sudden a vehicle comes down that road that shouldn't be there because I didn't invite them or I don't know who they are, I don't have an option to run back to the house.
Right.
I need to take care of a situation. I also have, like you, a lot of dogs. We have big snakes and everything else, and big cats and everything. So we, you and I are in a different situation than most folks, I'll say. Living rurally, we have a different use and a different type of security we have to set up. For the average person who lives urban or suburban, and we were going to talk about this, a firearm is key, and I'll say this. Most of the time, we recommend a handgun for inside the home, and here's why. Using a long gun inside the home takes a level of training and skill that most people either A, won't develop to, or B, are unwilling to develop to, or C, simply don't see the need. So therefore, we really suggest a firearm in the house to be a handgun. Most people I recommend, believe it or not, a .357 Magnum with a 4-inch barrel. However, there are some exceptions. Today's modern threats are usually multiple. Having said that, the semi-automatic, once learned, is probably a better choice because you have more rounds to use at your disposal should you need them. It also mitigates the recoil for anyone who's recoil sensitive and makes faster on-target acquisition.
Jeff Holmes, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks,
Jeff's going to be back again and again and again. MOA1911 at live.com. Jeff, thanks so much for being with us. Class, next hour number 2, Sam Bushman's going to be with us. We're going to talk about a seminar that we're going to do at the Get Prepared Expo, how to be a radio broadcaster, Broadcasting 101. We're going to talk a little bit maybe about the Velvet Hammer. We're going to be talking about some bruises we have. We're going to talk about the expo and what to expect. We'll be right back.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
They say when you're taking flak, that's one way you can tell that you're over the target. And, we were talking about guns and gun selection and firearms and what caliber to choose in the previous hour. And we started taking some flak. We had packet losses, we had frame losses between our studio here in Missouri, in the Ozark Mountains, and Genesis. And, we're going to be talking about some topics that I think are causing some packets to be lost right now. And I'm watching the statistics. Everyone all set, cocked, locked? I'm Vincent Finelli. This is hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. With us for this hour is Sam Bushman, broadcaster over 20 years, Liberty Roundtable. He's going to be at the Get Prepared Expo. And welcome, Sam Bushman.
Yes, sir. I'm absolutely getting excited because you released all the different one-hour seminars from USA Prepares instructors. Then I saw the details, and I just thought, man, I'm supposed to speak during some of these killer seminars. How do I go to a seminar and speak at the same time? And I'm just telling you, tremendous preparedness information, tremendous opportunities, rub shoulders with some of the best in the business, and I get to be there because Vince invited me. I love it.
Well, I'm delighted to have you. I really am. And Sam, I've listened to you on the radio for many, many years, and you do a fabulous job. We're at this expo, which is July 19, 20, and 21. No matter who is speaking, he or she will be going up head-to-head with some great speakers. For example, we've got 4 seminars running at a time. So 3 speakers are going head-to-head with Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Okay? 3 speakers are going head-to-head with Dr. Joel Wallach. 3 speakers are going head-to-head with Richard Mack, Sheriff Richard Mack. It's unbelievable. 3 speakers are going head-to-head with Mark Anderson, who just came back from the Bilderberg Conference, and he's going to do a full disclosure of what he saw and what happened there. 3 speakers are going head-to-head with Chief Cloudpiler and Dr. Howard Shayne. The Chief Cloudpiler is the chief of Nemenhah, a congregation of Native American tribes. unbelievable. So just about
and
everybody.
There's going to be people going ahead with Sam Bushman, Vince Finelli, and many others talking about how to start your own radio show, too.
Hey, let's talk about that.
Hold on.
Sam,
before
you
we
and
talk about that, though, and I don't want to forget this, is why I want to make sure we do this. You mentioned Chief Cloudpiler, and we're going to be doing something at the seminar that's just tremendous, making it a sacred event. We need to get to that. Can we do that? Then we'll get to the talk show host stuff. I just don't want to forget.
Sure. I have been getting in a lot of trouble on the afternoon broadcast, which I don't do anymore. I've done things that I guess you're not supposed to do. And I never saw the rule book. They never gave me the rule book. I just did what I thought was right. Okay, so I've been pushing the envelope because I didn't realize it was pushing the envelope. I just thought I was doing
the mainstream press rule book is quite simple: destroy the republic and down everything that's of value. In other words, down God, family, country, down everything good and freedom loving, and just basically back tyranny in every fascist way possible. It doesn't matter what road the tyranny you go. That's their marching orders, sir.
Yeah. So I was against all that. But anyway, so what I did was. I guess several days ago, I called Chief Cloudpiler, and by the way, I am a Native American medicine man. I've been adopted by Nemenhah, so I can consecrate my farm where Mrs. Finelli and the children and I and the animals live as sacred ground, and it will be off limits to the federal government, the state government, all the governments, okay, because it's sacred ground. Well, I asked Chief Cloudpiler if he could consecrate the convention, we'll call it a convention, which is the Get Prepared Expo, as sacred. And I could see the grin on his face on the phone. I mean, he thought, wow, that's really cool. So what we'll do, but we have to have the agreement of the majority. So as we start our first banquet dinner, which is Friday night, where we introduce all of the instructors to those who are having dinner with us. And it'll be up to about 250 of us for dinner. It's going to be limited to 250. We will ask the instructors if they would like to raise their hand in favor of consecrating the convention as sacred. If we do that, if the majority agrees that that's what we should do, he will perform the ceremony. It takes about 10 minutes. He'll do it right then and there and consecrate the convention as sacred. And he expects that that's going to happen. He expects the vote's going to go that way. He will have with him signs that put the government employees who are on official business on notice that they are to apply for permission to be on the property.
Now, as far as I understand, this has never been done before. We're good, honest American people get together and say, listen, federal government, you know what? You want to query us for credentials to do everything. You want to strip search us and do all this different. And this is the first time we're just simply saying, listen, if you're on government official business, you're coming on to a sacred seminar, sacred ground here, and we're working together with honest Americans everywhere to do a sacred business. And the sacred business we're doing is preserving our country. We're focusing on our survival skills. We're focusing on our ability to protect one another, to be self-sufficient, to be reliable, to do what Americans have always done, Vince.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. But this, I believe, is the first time that an event such as our Get Prepared Expo has ever done anything like this. And we are going to send out a press release to the fact that we are doing this. And we're going to invite the media. We're going to invite the media to attend. And we just may have some television cameras. We may be setting the standard for what the future can hold. And
I'm
Chief
not a
Cloudpiler,
prophet, but I will say to you this. The Native Americans will play an incredible role in liberty as we move forward, and we need to partner with them to do that, sir. I'm telling you right now, remember who said it.
Okay, I'm in agreement with you. And Chief Cloudpiler, my name, my nickname is contrary warrior for Nemenha. And I think he's got me in the smoke signal department.
And one of the things that they're incredible at, though, is pegging people really for their valuable traits and the things that they almost as if the name denotes a calling, or the calling denotes a name. I ought to say it like that.
Well, that's true. That's true. And by the way, Dr. Norman Shealy is a Native American medicine man also, and we have several of our USA Prepares instructors and wives who are adopted medicine men and women. Seriously, and these are learned people. I'm talking about medical degrees are also. We have at least two that I know of that have medical degrees that are Native American medicine men and women, adopted, just as I've been adopted.
Mainstream history to it, too. I don't know if you've ever watched Dr. Quinn, but there's an Indian named Cloud Dancing in there. And Dr. Quinn becomes a medicine woman under Cloud Dancing tutelage. So this is even in Dr. Quinn mainstream TV stuff.
Yep, and that's what happened to me. And it's based on values. You can't be doing harm and become a medicine man or a medicine woman. It's impossible. You cannot. You have to be willing to heal the planet, the individual, the community, and so forth. You can't be a bad person and be a medicine man.
It's all based on respect and honoring life.
Absolutely, and making where you are better than when you first got there. And that's not all that different from the Golden Rule. That's not all that different from the Boy Scouts. Helping people,
or the Physician's Creed, do no harm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it is not. I did not abandon my Roman Catholic faith to become a Native American.
By the way, and nor are you required to.
That's correct. So I think it's pretty neat. And so Cloud Piler, and he goes by Cloud Piler. I'm not being disrespectful by not using the word chief in front, but I can call him Cloud Piler. He can call me Contrary Warrior. Chief Cloud Piler will be at the Get Prepared Expo, and he will teach anyone who wants to attend his seminar, any and every one, how to become a Native American medicine man. He is absolutely brilliant, articulate. He's a patriot. And you know what? The thing I don't understand is he's not angry. He's not angry at the theft of his land. The paving over of his land, the tying of the interstate with these high tensile guard wires so you can't change from northbound to southbound or eastbound to westbound. You are roped in like animals to slaughter as you drive down the highways. And he's not angry about that. He's a very good man. So he'll be there, Dr. Norman.
He's tapped into a greater source of understanding and energy, and he realizes the higher source to look to ain't government, sir. That's the difference, and that's how he's grounded. These Native Americans are grounded in a deeper understanding, sir.
Sam, when we come back, let's talk about the seminar that you and I are going to do together. You're the senior. You're the lead on this. You are the senior person in broadcasting. I'm just a mere novice running as fast as I can to learn as fast as I can about broadcasting. And we're going to teach a seminar on how to do it. Sam Bushman. Class, we got to meet up on Monday. Monday at Ziggy's. As we always have our meetups on Monday, 5:30. And for those of you who are picking up your signs to spread out all over your communities about the Get Prepared Expo, we have them. We have the signs. We have the stands. They're 18 by 24 inches, the kind that politicians use, except these actually have a message that's important. So if you'd like to pick them up, we'll have them at the meetup on Monday. and that will be our last meetup before the Get Prepared Expo. So I'll be talking about the event, the schedule, what's happening, who's doing what, and all of you volunteers, you'll learn about your assignments at the meetup on Monday at Ziggy's. So Ziggy's 5:30. And also, if you're interested in getting information about the Get Prepared Expo, we found that Facebook is a good way for us to do that. Now, we do not post nonsense and what our dog's doing in the backyard. We don't do that. The only thing that we're going to use this for is to to communicate about the Get Prepared Expo. So we'll have specials and latest updates and those kinds of things. So if you want to friend us, it's Vincent Finelli, Vincent Finelli. I use my real name on the air. So it's Vincent Finelli. There are other derivatives of that are not me. So Vincent Finelli is the way, Finelli. That's the way you can friend us. And if you do, we'll accept it. And there's about 100 people a day that are requesting that. If you'd like to request that we're friends, we'll make sure it happens. And we'll get you information.
For folks, too, it shows that you're from Springfield, Missouri. That's how people can know that it's the right one if they get confused, right?
Yes, yeah. It lists Springfield, Missouri, and I appreciate that, Sam. So, Sam, now you and I are going to do a really fun seminar. Now, you are the lead person on this because you have the most experience. I have. I guess I'm kind of like that ping pong ball that just bounces off all these. I get bruised as I go through this process because I don't know the rules, and so we're gonna talk about what. Share with us what we're gonna learn when you and I present how to become a broadcaster, and we think it's so important. Why? Because all of us who think the same way, we're going to teach you how to get on the air. And we're going to teach you what to say to get through call screeners. But tell us what we're going to learn, Sam, please.
All right, you're going to learn a bunch of different things. One, you're going to learn if you're talk show host material. And that's kind of an interesting discussion. A lot of people think, hey, you got to be incredibly dynamic to be a talk show host. You got to know everything to be a talk show host. Okay, none of that crap's true. And it doesn't have to do with if you have a very vivacious personality and you can talk forever. Some of the best talk show hosts are more of the humble type. They learn to interview guests and get other people talking. They learn to be a facilitator of information. They learn to be almost like traffic cop on the radio, helping folks cooperate and do a great job. You don't have to be super talker necessarily to be a talk show host. Some have a very flamboyant delivery. Some are like rock stars taking the stage. You know when they're present, they're on the air. That's a little bit of my style. Not that I'm over the top, but I come out of the gate swinging, so to speak. Other talk show hosts, such as Vincent Finelli, come out with a calm, dignified demeanor. And you know what? You want to hear everything they have to say because they don't say as much as others, but what they say is vital. So don't think you understand what it takes to be a talk show host. Come to the expo and learn. I know a little bit about it, and it's totally different from your normal broadcaster schools. All the things that they say to do and don't do, I toss out and say those people are rendered irrelevant. They're gatekeeper control freaks. We're people who truly want to hear and gain information and have trust in our listeners that you guys know what's up and what's important and what you want and what you don't want and what you believe in and what you don't believe in. And we have complete faith in you. So first, you're going to learn what it takes to be a talk show host. Secondly, you're going to learn two sides of being a talk show host. One is being on the air. The other one is being an active participant in the radio broadcast. So as you mentioned, teaching people how to pass call screeners, teaching people how to go out and carry forth a mandate. One of the great things that Vince Finelli is incredible at is saying, you know what, this issue, that issue ain't right. We're going to have our listeners participate in the solution to change something, to solve something, to expose something, to focus on something. And getting listeners involved is critical, and being one of those listeners to spread the word is critical.
There you go. There you go. Sam Bushman has been doing this for 20 years, and isn't that going to be a fun seminar? Isn't it going to be a fun seminar to learn how to get through the call screeners? We're going to talk more about this on the other side of the break. And also I'm going to mention about Roy Birdsong, Choose Your Own Wireless, $8 cell phones. But here's the cool thing. $8 Roy Birdsong last night. And Roy Birdsong is our cell phone expert. Choose Your Own Wireless in Springfield, Missouri. And he's been doing seminars at the Get Prepared Expo about cell phones since the very beginning, since the very first expo. And I asked him, I said, here's the challenge. Absolute lowest cost for cell phone service. And I'd like to be absolutely anonymous. I want to make sure that I cannot be tracked, and I don't want to use my name. So here's what's happening. He found a model of a cell phone. It's a used cell phone. He's bought them, and they're plain. They're not smartphones, okay, because they have tracking. These are plain phones. $8 a month, 250 minutes, 250 texts, $80 a year, couple thousand minutes, couple thousand texts. And you can turn off the GPS. Used phone, $8 a month. Now, what's happening is our team is they're picking names like actors and actresses that they like Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe. So when you call this person, it'll show up as Marilyn Monroe. It's not that person's real name. It might not even be a female. So we're going to talk about that at the expo, how to do it, and you'll have the phones. It's the coolest thing, and it'll cost way less than if you use Verizon or one of those other companies. So that's just a thought. Sam Bushman's with us. And Sam, we are in a war with the opposition. They lie, they cheat, they steal from us, and they use our money to control the media. Now, our plan is really simple. Okay, we'll use their media, and we'll help people call in and get past the call screeners and get their message out, our message. We'll get our message out through their call screeners, through their media. And also, we think that there are a lot of us who can be broadcasters. Sam, I had no intention of ever doing what I'm doing. Never. Okay? One of the things that made my knees knock was standing up in public speaking. I avoided it in elementary school. I avoided it in high school. I avoided it in college. Somehow I got away with it. I got away with not being in front of, speaking in front of people. It was a mistake. It's something I think everybody should learn how to do, public speaking. But we're going to teach people how they can start their own radio show. Sam, tell us more what we're going to learn, because I just love the seminar that you and I are going to do.
Yeah, one of the things when you call radio talk shows, if you say exactly what's on your mind, they don't want to hear from you, ladies and gentlemen. They're not interested in hearing what you have to say. And at the expo, when we talk about this, I'm going to play a couple of quick sound bites that'll prove it. But Michael Savage gets on the radio, one of the top talk show hosts in the nation, supposedly, and he basically says, listen, if you want to talk about Ron Paul, if you want to talk about ammunition, if you want to talk about pro-life, then you know what? You're an idiot. Don't bug me. Don't call me. That's bad radio. I don't want to hear it. Well, at the same time, I show you an article from the Daily Caller that shows these top-tier talk show hosts have actors that call in and fake their phone calls. So when you hear a very articulate caller call that you think, you know what, that person's good, it's an actor, folks. It's a paid entertainer actor, sometimes to agree with, oftentimes to disagree with and play contrarian with the host for their vision of what good radio is. Meanwhile, they don't want to hear from you at all. And so one of the great ways you can make a difference is to learn to bring up subjects that they will accept, but turn those subjects into subjects that matter to the American people. And they like dumb callers that they can make fools out of. They like callers that talk about what they want to talk about. So I'll give you a quick, simple example to make the point. I don't want to go on too long, but I want to get you guys to understand. We'll be talking about this at the expo. But let's say that Michael Savage, one of the things he says is they're talking about pervs in the library, preying on little children. He goes on like that. He talks about that's something that's not being talked about in the media. He does it like that, okay? So all you got to do is call and say, I want to talk about perverts in the media. I want to talk about perverts at the library. But instead of going on to the pervert, the salacious, which is where they love to go, what you talk about is the morality in the nation is slipping. And you say, you know what, we've really lost a lot of ground in America today because people aren't moral. It's not about being a Catholic or a Mormon or a Baptist or whatever. Be what you want to be. That's fine. Worship how, where, whatever you may. But what we're talking about here is a moral standard in the country, Mr. Savage, or whoever you're talking to, that matters here. And when we're talking about morality, I think honest money is really critical, don't you think, Michael Savage? Do you believe in honest money? Do you think we ought to get rid of the Federal Reserve? Well, you brought up the subject, but you did so in a way that's truthful. You wanted to talk about pornography. But pornography relates to immorality. Morality relates to honesty. And that's the thread that you can tell the tale of and get to where you want to go easily. And you got to learn how to do it with skill. And you do it by making sure that your comments are cogent, that they're a natural progression. And it's about impossible, unless they just do a Rush Limbaugh and abort your call, for them to back out of that conversation, because they look foolish when they do, Vince.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And class, let me tell you how this works. I'm going to tell you some secrets. I'm sitting here in Missouri, and I have 4 screens in front of me. I have one that shows me the statistics, the packet loss of the digital packets that I'm sending out from Missouri, the digital packets that I'm receiving. So I kind of watch that. And I can toggle between that screen and an audio metering screen, which shows Sam's level on a view screen, kind of like a view meter, but it's on a computer screen. I can see mine. I can see if I'm modulating okay. Then I have a couple of the screens that I can read the news and so forth. And then I have the 4th screen that shows me the calls. And here's what I can do. Alex will receives the calls in Minnesota, and he'll answer the phone, and the phone is actually in Minnesota, like 800 miles away from me. And I have line number 1, and if a caller calls, I'll know how long that caller's been here. I'll know what the subject is and what the person's name is. So it might be Mike from Tennessee. It might be Jeff from St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, and I can hit the hold button, I can hit an air button, or I can hit a drop button. Now, what I believe Rush Limbaugh does, now I don't know this for a fact, but what I believe he does is he sees the call, and if it's not, or he can, if it's a real call, he can hit the button with his mouse that says air. He can take the call, and then while he is responding to that first question, he can hit drop. That caller just disappears, never to be heard from again. Or he can hit hold, and that caller will never be heard from again until he takes that person off hold. So what I'm saying is, remotely, I have the ability to process those calls. I can air them. I can let the person talk as long as I want them to, or I can throw them overboard. And the listeners won't even know what happened. That's the kind of things that happen in radio. So you need to know that when you call into a talk show, because they can hit the hold button and you can be talking and no one will hear you. So you have to be
One of the other things you can do is you can get on talk shows, and when you make this cogent argument about morality in America, or about whatever topic, about honesty and money, the Federal Reserve, or you want to spread the word about the Preparedness Expo, for instance, one of the things that you can do is when you get on the air, and if they abort you and kick you off over and over, it becomes evident what they've done. They don't give you a chance to finish or say thank you, or the normal protocols that good, honest people have with each other. They're using their gatekeeper mentality to control the airwaves. What you can do is you can get on another talk show and say, hi, Sean Hannity, I sure appreciate you taking my call, sir. It's interesting, Rush Limbaugh aborts my calls. I'm so grateful that you're willing to hear me out. And now when he chops you off, oh, yeah, so you're just like Rush and you chop me off. The listeners get that, right? Because, hi, Sean, I appreciate you. You know what? Rush always aborts my calls. I'm grateful you're willing to hear me out. Now it's going to be very hard for Sean not to hear you out, because he looks like a fool if he doesn't. Mm-hmm. You've also identified to the listeners that that's happening when people call Rush. And so you can truly educate people and have people taking part in the solutions of holding them accountable. And the more we do this, the more they're going to be forced to consider our ideas. They don't have to agree with us. This isn't China. But it's about letting our views, meaning the American people's views, thoughts, beliefs, ideas, come to the airwaves. That's what this is about.
And we're going to talk about this in depth at the Get Prepared Expo. We're going to take your questions. It's going to be an informal session, okay? You will be able to ask all the questions you want, and even after the presentation, the 1-hour presentation, you'll be able to come up to Sam Bushman, and me, and ask us independently your questions. So we're going to be available for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's the Get Prepared Expo, July 19, 20, and 21. Not this weekend, but next weekend. And it is the largest preparedness expo in the country. And we do things that are way over the top, like this particular subject. Class, I'd like to give out Roy Birdsong's telephone number. So if you want to pre-order or order one of these used cell phones that are not trackable, where you can turn the GPS off and you can have an anonymous account where no one knows who you are, here's what you do. You can pay cash for your minutes, or you can use a credit card if you want, but that's trackable. You can do it any way you want. Roy Birdsong is at 417-823-3715. 417-823-3715. Link on the website, Roy Birdsong. Choose your own wireless. Sam, I think the combination of teaching people how they can have their own radio broadcast and the becoming a Native American medicine man and woman are so different, and neither one of those has ever been done at a preparedness expo. None of them. And I think,
well, that's because you're Vincent Finelli.
Well, see, Sam, I really don't know how to do this broadcasting thing. I really don't. I'm learning.
But what you know how to do, though, is think outside the box, and what you know how to do is innovate and create, and you've done it all your life, and this is just your latest venture in the same thing that you've been doing successfully for years, though, Vince. And that's something that people need to understand about becoming a talk show host or a columnist, a writer, or whatever they want to pursue in relation to liberty and preparedness. They need to understand just because you're not familiar with everything, that means nothing. If you're educated, you can teach yourself anything, sir.
Yeah, and Dr. Norman Shealy is going to be with us, and he's the guy, he's the brain surgeon, he's the inventor of Bliss Oils. He's the guy that gave me a vial of Bliss to get me to stop my knees knocking about within the first 6 months of me trying to broadcast in the afternoons. And it worked. And he'll show you how to do it, too. Sam Bushman's with us, usaprepares.com. Get Prepared. Sam Bushman's with us, and we're talking about the Get Prepared Expo and one of the neat seminars that we're going to be doing. And, Sam, one of the things that's very interesting about this, Michael Evans, a local broadcaster in Missouri, is going to be doing this with us, this Radio 101, How to Become a Broadcaster. Joyce Riley is going to be with us doing this seminar, and she's right here on Genesis Communications Network. You're going to be doing it. I'm going to be doing it. And here's a really amazing thing. All four of us are on the radio with overlapping time slots. So, as a matter of fact, if in the business world, you would say that we are all competitors.
Yeah, enemy competitors.
Well, we don't see it that way. Yeah. But we don't see it that way. Because
enemy competitors. The idea is, hey, if I do well, you're going to be hurt by that. Or if you do well, it's going to absolutely hurt me. I think it's a false view of the economy and a false view of success. Nevertheless, that's the traditional view, right?
Yes. Yes. So the bottom line is the expo is going to be totally different. We don't do what the other preparedness expos do. We are way outside the box in everything we do. And when we say we have 1 hour seminars, we have 1 hour seminars. We don't say that we have more seminars than everybody else because it's not true. We say it because it is true. We have so many seminars, and they're so good that the other expos try to claim they are bigger than we are. As a matter of fact, Sam, I'm going to tell a real quick story. There's one, and I've been resisting doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. There's an expo that is called Doomsday Expo in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, huge city. And they made a lot of claims. One of them was, I believe they said they were going to have 16,000 people. Way bigger than ours. Way bigger. We only have between 4,000 and 6,000 a day. So each day, 4,000 to 6,000. They had 377 people show up. 377. They said they were going to have 16,000.
But it's partly how it's paid. Come on, who wants
there's
to go to
another
the Doomsday Expo?
Well, and we don't even use the word doomsday because it's the wrong message. That message, we are not. Well, why not just party if it's doomsday? It's not doomsday. We can fix a lot of these problems if we work together. And that's our message. It's get prepared. It's get prepared, be prepared, and let's work together. That is our message. And we can do it. We absolutely can do it. So, class, I'd like to request that you friend us on Facebook. And that would be Vincent Finelli, full spelling, Vincent space Finelli, Springfield, out of Springfield, Missouri. That's where, that's the one. There are three Finellis, different varieties of Vincent. It's the full name, Vincent, Springfield, Missouri. That's the one. And if you do that, we're getting about 100 a day, several thousand, or a couple thousand so far. We'll send you information, the latest updates on the expo, the radio broadcast. It is not going to be, you're not going to get the latest information about what I had for breakfast. I'm not going to inundate you with that. There's not going to be any personal information shared. It's just to get you information about the expo. Sam, we're going to have a survival banquet dinner. The freeze-dry guys cooking. And the neat thing about this, we've done this before, we can only accommodate, I thought we could do 300, only 250. The room only holds 250. So if you're interested, you ought to get your tickets. $8 online for the survival banquet dinner. You will get a beef entree, and you will get a chicken entree, and vegetables, and pineapple for dessert, and freeze-dry guy astronaut ice cream, all for $8. And we're going to have the introduction of our faculty at this dinner. We have it Friday night and Saturday night at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. You will meet who we are. You're going to get to see how funny looking I am.
And you're going to
Sam,
find
we
out
are
why
out of
Sam
time.
Bushman has a voice for radio.
Hey, Sam, thank you so much for being with us. Class, you get a chance to meet Sam Bushman, Sheriff Richard Mack, Dr. Norman Shealy, Richard Allen Miller. The list goes on and on. Dr. Julie Pennick, we're going to be there. Your radio faculty will be at the Get Prepared Expo, July 19, 20, and 21. Not this weekend, next weekend. Tickets are available, $8 online per day, $18 for 3 days, or $10 a day at the door. Please tell your friends. Please email all your friends. Above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.